Martell Holt did not just randomly show up on a live stream for fun. This was presented as a serious business moment. It was marketed as a 48-hour Canvas Beauty live event, meant to highlight products, partnerships, and brand growth. The expectation was professionalism, structure, and purpose. What actually happened was very different. Instead of elevating the brand, the live slowly turned into something messy, uncomfortable, and hard to watch. What should have been a focused business showcase became a stage for controversy, awkward moments, and personal opinions that had nothing to do with beauty or self-care. From the very beginning, the decision to center Martell in this space raised questions. He has no background in the beauty industry. He is not known for hair care, skin care, or branding in this space. There was no clear reason explained as to why he was chosen to be such a visible part of a Canvas beauty event. That alone set the tone. When a brand places someone front and center who does not fit the industry or the message, it creates confusion. Viewers immediately started asking what the purpose was and what value he was bringing to the table. As the live began, it was clear that there was no strong structure. This did not feel like a planned brand presentation. There were no clear talking points, no smooth transitions, and no sense of direction. Instead, it felt like a free-for-all where anything could happen. Early on, Martell was asked to read scent notes from the products. This should have been simple. Reading descriptions is basic brand promotion. But instead of going smoothly, it turned into an awkward moment that many viewers found embarrassing. Martell struggled to read the words clearly. He mispronounced basic terms. At one point, he read the word pear as piano. Instead of gently correcting him or moving the moment along, the panel leaned into it. They laughed. They let it drag on. He even had to use his phone's flashlight just to see the labels. This was not funny in a light-hearted way. It felt uncomfortable. It felt like someone being put in a position where they were not prepared and then left there to struggle. This raises an important question. Why would a brand do this? If the goal was to sell products and build trust with customers, why not choose someone who could clearly speak about the scents, the ingredients, and the benefits? Why put someone in a spot where they look lost and unprepared? Instead of making the brand look strong, it made the moment look careless. As the hours went on, the atmosphere continued to shift. What started as casual turned into unprofessional. Pajamas came out. The energy became late night and unfocused. It no longer felt like a business event. It felt like an after-dark talk show with no limits. The focus slowly moved away from Canvas Beauty and landed almost completely on Martell. His thoughts, his views, and his opinions took center stage. This is where things became more serious. The conversation moved away from products and into topics about women, relationships, and dating. Martell began sharing opinions that many people recognize as red pill or manosphere talking points. He talked about men being the prize. He suggested that women have things wrong. He talked about women needing to cook and clean. He framed Valentine's Day as a day where men should be catered to instead of a shared celebration of love. These statements were not presented as jokes. They were not balanced or challenged. They were delivered calmly and confidently, as if they were facts instead of personal opinions shaped by his own experiences. That is what made many viewers uncomfortable. When opinions like this are shared on a brand-owned live, especially one led by women, it sends a confusing and damaging message. What made this even worse was the lack of pushback. Lala continued to ask Martell questions that invited him to expand on these ideas. She did not challenge him in any meaningful way. She did not offer another perspective. Instead, she seemed to encourage the conversation to continue even as the audience grew more frustrated. This is where people started asking why he was being given this platform at all. Why was a man with no connection to the beauty industry being allowed to dominate a brand event? Why was he positioned as someone whose opinions deserved attention in this space? And why were these ideas being allowed to sit unchallenged in a room full of women? Lala's role in this situation cannot be ignored. She is not new to the industry. She has worked with major brands, major celebrities, and major networks. She understands how public conversations shape narratives. She has lived through public infidelity and divorce herself. She knows the damage that one-sided conversations can do. Yet she sat there playing the role of a host, asking questions that framed Martell as if he were some kind of relationship authority. The irony of this was hard to miss. Lala divorced a man who cheated and allegedly had children outside the marriage. She experienced firsthand the consequences of the mindset that Martell promotes. And yet, she allowed those same ideas to be shared without real challenge. That contradiction did not go unnoticed by viewers. Stormy's role is also important to examine. Throughout the live, she repeatedly gave Martell grace. She referred to him as a good man. She suggested he just needs to travel more or explore different paths. What was missing from her responses was accountability. Instead of addressing the actual issue, the conversation kept being softened and redirected. Martell himself repeated a familiar line. He said he's been dragged for 7 years. He can't say how he really feels because he would get canceled. That statement alone reveals a lot. It showed that he doesn't believe he has done anything wrong. It showed that he sees himself as a victim of public opinion rather than someone facing consequences for his actions. Accountability was completely absent. Instead of reflecting on why people react negatively to his words, he framed himself as misunderstood. Instead of acknowledging harm, he doubled down on his beliefs. This is not growth, this is deflection. Another thing that stood out was the lack of promotion for Martell's own projects. Where was the mention of his wine brand? Where was the children's book? Where was the cookbook he once talked about? Where was the calendar? None of it was discussed. That makes the question even louder. Why was he there? This live did not benefit his businesses. It did not elevate the Canvas beauty brand. What it did do was create controversy. It created clips. It created chatter. And that may be the real reason he continues to be invited into these spaces. He brings reactions. He brings drama. He brings attention. And for some platforms, attention matters more than integrity. This is where the comparison to Melody Shari becomes important. For years, people tried to paint her as the problem. They framed her as difficult. They blamed her for the failure of the relationship and the struggles on the show. But moments like this make it clear that the issue was never her. Even after the divorce, even after everything that happened, the same people she once supported continue to align themselves with Martell. They continue to give him platforms even when he disrespects women, even when his behavior is questionable. That tells you a lot. People aren't tuning in because they respect his opinions. They're tuning in to watch the chaos. They're tuning in out of disbelief. At one point, the live had thousands of viewers. The numbers went up as the mess increased. That should be a warning sign. Controversy brings eyes, but it damages credibility. There were moments where Lala implied that Martell might still be dealing with multiple women. She framed questions around your woman or your women. Whether intentional or careless, it added to the discomfort. And through all of this, the products were pushed to the side. Canvas Beauty became background noise. Instead of talking about ingredients, results, and routines, the live became a stage for outdated gender debates. That is not branding. That is distraction.